The 6-stage reverse osmosis water filtration system from iSpring. How the hell am I supposed to review it? Because there's really only one thing to talk about, and it's the water. Does it filter the water? Yes, it does. Does it taste pretty good? Yes, it does. Does it prevent me from having to go to the store and buy bottled water? Yes, it does. And it's far superior to one of those jugs with a filter because that takes forever. This is an on-demand system, and it has a 5-gallon tank, so pretty much have water whenever you need it. In my opinion, it does its job well. I don't taste or smell any chlorine whatsoever. My girlfriend doesn't like the taste too much. She says it's a bit too harsh. But the good news is you can probably replace that final stage, the 6th stage, which adds flavor and minerals back into the water so you don't drink distilled water. You can change that out with just about anything, really. The only part I really have to say much about is installation. The install is somewhat daunting even with an instruction manual. There's a lot of steps and a lot of hoses and a lot of rigmarole, but hopefully with a video, it shouldn't be too bad. Install should only take maybe an hour tops. 2 hours if you consider the fact that you have to flush your system several times after you install it. But all in all, I'm happy with this. I think it's a great product and well worth the money. It pays for itself over and over again when you consider how much bottled water you'd have to buy, and also prevents a lot of water going into the plastic bottles going to the landfill. The only thing you do have to pay attention to is the fact that for every gallon of fresh water it produces, I believe it produces 5 gallons of wastewater. I'll put a text in the video with an accurate number, but cost of water is something to consider for sure. Cheers. How to install a 6-stage reverse osmosis filter system. You won't need too many tools. Phillips head, drill, and some bits. The rest is provided to you by iSpring. So let's quickly go over how you would assemble it and theory of operation. So they give you this metal bracket here that you can mount inside your cabinet. You'll be attaching these flanges for your filters. They'll each have 4 screws. And then you'll be populating each with a clean filter. So here's how this thing generally works. The water that you will supply, you need to hook up a supply here through stage 1, the sedimentation filter. In order to hook up water to it, you will use this T-junction that they provide to you. And you will basically splice it in line to your cold water supply where your copper pipe comes out, and where it hooks up to your faucet, there's this junction here. You'll be undoing this nut, and you will splice in this T to supply your water filter. But let's continue how the water filter works. So water comes in through here, stage 1, 2, 3. They provide you a little handy tool to tighten these or loosen these as you need. Then water comes out through stage 3 and enters into this water distribution block. It is labeled here if you pay attention, in, out. So water comes in, flows out, goes to stage 4, goes into the reverse osmosis membrane. And here there are 2 outlets. One's labeled concentrated water maybe, but let's call it wastewater. The other one is labeled pure water. The wastewater will come out here through this flow regulation, and this will be your wastewater. Now it's entirely up to you which colors you want to use here. You'll put this nut on here. You'll need to provide a way for the wastewater to be disposed of. Now if you have a disposal, this is pretty easy to do, because all you got to do is drill into this plastic. You'll make a hole here, and they provide you with a flange and also some sticky tape to make the connection more watertight. You will clamp it around, and you will put that wastewater hose in here. I don't have that sticky tape anymore, so I'm just going to use electrical tape and
kind of hope for the best. The other half, which is pure water, goes back into this distribution block, in, out, and goes to stage 5, the post-carbon filter. It enters here, and on the post-carbon filter, you'll be attaching this T-junction. The T-junction is there so you can hook up one end of it to your storage tank. Right. Here they will provide you a valve that you have to put on. You will have to wrap Teflon tape around this thing, and if I recall correctly, you have to make 15 windings around the nipple of this thing before you screw this on. And then you will connect it to this T-junction that enters. It's at the inlet of your post-carbon filter. And if you notice here, it says flow, arrow pointing this direction, so you know this is the inlet. That's where you put that T-junction. Going on, quick fit here, quick fit here. This goes to your final stage, which is the alkaline filter. It adds sort of flavor and such to your water so that you're not drinking purely distilled water. You'll put another quick fit here, and from here you will go out to yet another pipe. You will need to put this fitting here that'll make it watertight. It'll have this ring and then this little fitting. You'll insert it with this nut, and you will attach it to the spout that they provide. And finally, the last component that they give you is this. This is just an alarm system. This probe here, when water touches it, this thing will alarm. Once you've got that more or less assembled, it's time to get started. First, you're going to need to find your cold water pipe. And easy, if you can't tell which is which, just run your hot water and you'll be able to tell which of these pipes is hot. So shut off the pipe. Make sure that indeed no cold water comes out. Depressurize the pipe. Next up, you're going to want to find that junction and break the connection loose. Alright, once it's loose, have a towel ready. I forgot to mention before we get any further, each one of these fittings needs to be wrapped in Teflon tape on the threads 6 times. And same thing with the fitting. Wrap it maybe 2-3 times. Another aside, this insert here is an adapter, and I needed this adapter to fit onto my copper pipes. Should work for most situations. Alright, I'm gonna thread it on now until tight. And I'm only hand tightening it. Might be a good idea to use a wrench at this point. Then you're gonna put the other end on, which is going to your faucet. Right now, both of them are on. A few side notes about these quick connect fittings. When you're cutting the pipe, make sure you cut it as straight as possible, like perpendicularly. If you don't, it will leak. Make sure that when you put it in, you really jam it in there, and you will feel it once it goes in. It like almost comes to a stop, but takes a fair amount of force. If it's still leaking, unscrew the fitting from whatever it's attached to and just wrap it with Teflon tape 10-15 times, whatever it takes, and then put it back on. Alright, all assembled. I was seriously blundering trying to do this with one hand. Next, let's drill a hole for where we want the faucet to go. Use the flange they provided to give yourself a good sense of where to place it, because you don't want to drill here and then wind up having your flange here. So I'm going to drill a hole now, and I'm going to start with 3/30 seconds. Alright, I've got my small pilot hole here. Now it's time to go for the real deal. Alright, I struggled a bit getting the right bit size, but turns out the correct bit size is 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch, and your faucet goes in nicely. Clean off your surface. Next, take the flange, insert it onto the faucet, put it in. On the other side, you'll need this rubber gasket, this nut here, and then yet another nut to insert into here to actually tighten, but for some reason my kit came with a nut, but the nut wasn't threaded, so I had to find my own. It's not the best fit, but it works all right. There it is. Should be able to just hand tighten it. Obviously, rubber gasket comes first, then the lock nut, then the nut. After some wrestling, I managed to get mine snugly back there, though in retrospect, not sure if that was a good idea, because how the hell am I gonna swap out the filters? Oh well, guess.
I'll cross that bridge when I get to it.
Next, you're gonna want to hook up the hose that you're gonna connect to your faucet here. Put in these little fittings, or whatever you want to call them. There's a ring, and then there's also this insert here, and this nut. You're gonna want to put this ring about a 1/4 inch down from the top of the pipe. Hand tighten it first, then tighten it with a wrench. Looks a bit like that. Alright. Now, the other end of the hose will go into the final stage of your system, which is the alkaline filter. Push it in until you hear it hit the bottom of the fitting. Once that's in, you're gonna want to use these clips here. They ensure that it won't just slip out again. Next up, take your water supply line, one end up to the T here. Don't forget a clip. Sorry, I make so many grunting sounds. I'm getting
Old and this is
confined space. The other end of the water supply line, you're gonna want to put directly to the very first stage. Sorry, let me get myself situated here. All right, that's gonna go in here with a clip, of course. Take the base of your tank here. I've already got its supply line hooked up. This basically is just a membrane. There's basically a rubber balloon in there, and this is what keeps your system nice and pressurized, but also gives you water on demand. You're gonna take this and you're gonna hook it up to your pre-charcoal filter, the one where we put a T in. Connected it off camera. There you can see the T. There's the other end of the T. One end goes to your tank here. All right, home stretch. Next comes your wastewater coming out of the membrane filter. I'm planning on putting the flange right here. That's a plastic pipe, nice and easy to drill through. A 1/4 inch. And next up, you put that tape on. Now I put electrical tape because I don't have that sticky stuff anymore. Time will tell if this will actually work out for me. Maybe flex tape would do a better job. Here's a nice little trick. Take the flange off, put the hose through, insert it in here. That way you know for sure that it's actually draining in there. Tighten it and put the other half on. Once that is all nice and tightened, here comes the fun part. Close the valve on the tank. Open up the valve for your water supply. Watch for leaks, of course. Then turn on the valve there towards your filtration system. Water will begin to flow. Now is a great time to watch for leaks. You'll hear it making all sorts of noises. And close this for a second. Let it do its thing for a minute. I noticed I've got a small leak there, so I'm just gonna tighten that fitting there. If you can't really tighten it to the point where it stops leaking, just shut it off at that T-junction. Release pressure from your system. Grab a towel and disconnect your quick fittings there and then tighten. Once you're relatively confident about there being no more leaks, you turn on the water. You let this thing run for 10 to 15 minutes, even with low flow like this, let it keep running. Then you turn it off and you turn on the supply for your water tank. The tank will take about 2 hours to fill. Once the tank is full, you will once again open this and let the tank drain completely. Once it drains completely, you're free to use your new water filtration system. Don't forget to put your water sensor down here. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if this was helpful to you. No. 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 Yes.